Hey guys, it's Casey from CutThatOut.com. I'm excited today because I am going to show you a new product that we are adding to our lineup, and that is a high quality PNG file meant for print and cut designs. So the design that you can see here on my screen is actually going to be a freebie in our Facebook group in just short order. Right after I record this video, I'm going to upload the file, upload the video, so you'll have some basic general instructions for how to work with these. So very exciting. Look for more of these designs. We're going to be launching in just a few days. More designs, so follow us on social media and in our newsletter to get all those details. All right, so let's talk about how to work with these designs. I've opened it up. This is just a PNG format file, or a PNG, as sometimes we call it. And you can see that just basically means that this image is all flattened together so that it's not individual parts like an SVG file would be. So I've opened the file and I've sized it to the size that I want to use. The next thing we need to do before we print is make our screen settings match what our printer can handle. In other words, I don't have a wide format printer. I can't print this full 12 by 12 size that you see here on my screen. So I'm going to make some adjustments to print successfully first, and then we can talk about how to cut. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, and I'm using Silhouette Studio. I'm using Business Edition, but you don't have to have Business Edition to be able to do this, okay? The first thing I'm going to do is turn on the registration marks, and you can do that a couple of ways. For me, that was function M, or you can go to your page setup panel, come over to this third little option here, and you can choose registration marks from here. Okay, so that's important. What that's going to do is allow us to align what we've printed with our cutting. The machine needs these registration marks so that it can read and know exactly where the design is sitting on the page when it comes time to cut. Okay, the next thing I need to do, though, I'm not quite done yet with prepping this for printing, is I need to come over to this first little option here on the page setup tab, and I need to choose the correct size paper. And for me, I can only print on 8.5 by 11 or smaller paper. So I need to make sure that I've selected that option also. You also want to make sure that your design falls within this border. You don't want to be outside of those lines there, because otherwise you're going to have trouble cutting when it comes time to cut. Okay, and lastly, as a prep for our printing, I want to make sure that if I'm going to print a design on a heat transfer paper, something that I would take to a garment and transfer over to the garment with my heat press, I need to mirror the design, because heat transfer paper, the ink side goes down, and so you want to mirror your design so that the image ends up on your garment like you see it here. Okay? So just remember that little tip. If you're printing on cardstock or some other type of regular paper, you don't have to mirror. And I'm going to show you this real quickly. This is the heat transfer paper that I like. This is Nina Jet Pro Soft Stretch, and I'm using the one for light colors. And included with that, you should find directions. This side shows how to use an iron with it, and then how to use your heat press. So Jet Pro Soft Stretch, okay? All right, so when it comes time to print, every printer is different, guys. So you're gonna have to just adjust and experiment to get the printout to look like you want it to look. That might mean that you adjust some of the settings, such as the quality setting. And again, your printer may be different. This is how it looks for me. The paper type, photo paper, plain paper, you may have some other options, but you can experiment around with that and see what works best for you. How does your printout look? Does it look vibrant like you want? Do you want it a little bit softer? That kind of thing. Okay, so that's the printing part. Now, the other thing to know here is you don't want to move this design around on your screen after you've done this printout, okay? Because this needs to be exactly where it was when you go to send this to your cut machine, okay? The registration marks and the design need to be in the exact position that you sent it when it was printed so that it goes the same way when you cut. Okay, the next step is we have to trace this design. It's not an SVG, it's a PNG file, which retains all these gorgeous watercolors and patterns and things that we've added to it. So we need to trace it. So let's walk through that process. So I've got it selected. I'm going to go over to my trace panel. I'm going to choose select trace area, and I'm going to draw a box around this design. Again, don't move the design. And I got it a little shy, so let me increase my box. All right, so at first you're going to think, oh my, that is not going to work. What's wrong with this? Don't panic. We're going to adjust our settings so that we get a nice clean trace of the outer edge, because that's what we want to cut. We don't want to cut all the little details, otherwise we would just cut the SVG file. We want just the outer edge, so we get a nice clean piece of paper that we can either use to transfer to our garment or a greeting card or whatever you're doing with this particular project. So you can see over here, I've done this previously, and I'm going to show you how I got this result. It looks great. I prefer, and again, I'm using Business Edition, so I might have slightly different controls than you're going to have in your software, but I hope just watching me go through this process will be helpful for you. I'm going to choose Outline because it's just a little cleaner, and then I'm going to adjust the threshold, and I start to see all that messy stuff disappear. And once I get it about as clean as I can, I'm going to take it to 100% for just a minute, and I'm going to zoom in and show you why I don't actually want to go to 100%. You can see that it actually ended up giving me a little gap here and also here in these little detail areas, and I don't want that. Now you also see it picked up a little bit of this nice pretty reflection on the buckle, but that's okay. We're going to take care of that. I'm going to back down the threshold just slightly until I get those solid, clean lines that I want. And that's a little too far, so I just keep adjusting until I get what I think is the absolute best version. And that looks pretty good. And now, instead of clicking Trace, I'm going to click Trace Outer Edge. Okay, so let me zoom back out just a minute. And I'm going to pull the image out of the way temporarily just so you can see, and that looks beautiful. That's going to give me a nice cut. All right, so a few tips about cutting, and then we'll wrap it up, and I'll load this for you so you can have a free design to play around with. When you go to cut, a couple of tips that I've learned through the years are make sure that you've got a good solid printout of what you're going to be cutting. Also, you need to make sure that you've got good light around your Cameo or whatever cutting machine you're using, because it needs that good solid light to be able to read the registration marks properly when it's cutting. Okay, so that's a quick overview in one version of Silhouette Studio. I hope some of those tips will carry over if you're using something different. Maybe you'll be able to pick up some hints anyway. If you have questions about the print and cut process, I would start with either the user's manual, the online help, or the website for your particular machine, because every machine is different. All right, guys, thank you so much, and stay tuned for our big launch of print and cut designs. Until next time, keep cutting.